Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help companies build great teams. I have as my guest today, Chad Diller from Landscape Leadership. Now, Chad, tell me, what does Landscape Leadership do?
Sure. So we are a digital marketing agency that specializes only in what we call the green industry, which would be landscapers, lawn care companies, irrigation, pest control, tree services, that sort of thing.
Okay. And what do you do for those companies?
So most of what we do focuses around all things digital. So we start with the websites, but that kind of, goes down a trail because there are other things that you need, like visuals, like photography, video, and that sort of thing. And so we focus primarily on marketing, generating leads for potential customers. But what has happened over the years, and I'm sure this is, no surprise to any of the
Right,
trades, is, you have another customer you really need, and it's people to work there. And as your company
right.
grows and you generate more leads, you need people. So we get into recruiting assets as well, or I would call it kind of recruiting marketing, creating those types of things that they need to attract top talent to their team.
So, I'm a recruiting company, and we always say if anybody you want to have work for you already has a job by definition, right? So you got to get them to quit their job and come to work for you. So, what can you put on the website that's going to get them to want to quit their job and come to work for you? What kind of an asset would that be?
Yeah. Now I recognize, I've been in the trades for 25 years in the landscape industry. The last 7.5 years I've been at an agency. So before that, I was actually one of these people. I did the work, I sold the work, and then I moved into marketing at the company that I worked for. And we had like 100 team members. So I totally get what you're saying, because there's a lot of that. We knew these people were from that company that came over, and then they got a couple buddies that come over as well.
Right.
So what happens is there's all types of sources that people will find out about your company. Maybe it is a referral, maybe it's a digital ad that's placed or something like that on Indeed or whatever. But people often will go and check the company out. So they're going to use the website as a validation tool. They're going to check out
Right.
the business. They're going to try to learn as much as they possibly can. So there's a lot of wonderful things that you can put on a website. The sad thing is a lot of companies don't do this. And so what we've seen is that websites that take, brands that take their website seriously as it relates to becoming like a recruiting brand or an employer brand, and they add these assets, you see a lot more job applicants coming in through the website. And when people are showing up for interviews, they know a lot more about the company. They might be more engaged in the interview process because they're reading this content. So there's all kinds of stuff that I would want to emphasize about the website. So the
Name me a
first
list.
thing is,
What,
yeah,
so,
all right.
because a lot of people, I tell us to people all the time, we're recruiting for like 300 companies, right? And obviously, we're trying to get somebody to quit their job and come to work for you. The first thing they're going to do is go to your website. Unfortunately, the truth is, very, very few websites have anything about the employees at all.
You're right. Yeah,
Nothing.
you're right. So I would say, just from an overall standpoint, keep it real high level. Your website needs to be really easy to navigate. You know, um, Try it on a phone. Like probably at least 50, 60% of traffic to most of the websites we see now are coming from mobile device. Like how easy is it to find the recruiting related, career related information on your website? You have like this main menu at the top, typically. Like, how far down do you have to dive and hunt to find that information? If you're the type of business that, is constantly hiring and constantly interviewing and need to have a flow of applicants coming through that you can pick and choose from, then maybe that in that menu, it needs to be a little bit more prominent, where it
It
says
could be like
careers or
number
jobs or
two, for
employment.
example, about us and then careers, right?
It could be, or it could just be a different place. Like maybe in the header of your website, you have your logo and a couple things in the menu button, but maybe there's actually just like this link there that says careers or
Right.
employment. And how easy is it for people to find? And then as it relates to navigating a website, all of us, I'm sure most of us, have done some sort of hiking in the woods. And what happens is when you go into, like a park or something like that, you start at a trailhead and you might have a couple choices, a couple places to go. And a lot of times what I see with websites is people overcomplicate this. It'd be like if you went to the park and all of a sudden there were 17 different trails. You'd feel a little bit overwhelmed, like, well,
Right.
which one
Where
should
do
I
I
go?
go?
But what happens is your journey, just like you would hike is the same way on the website. So as you go down, you see maybe one or two choices, and you have to think about, take prospective customers aside. Let's talk about like recruits is the secondary customer. Think about their journey as they click on this button. Where do they go, and what do they see? And then can they have somewhere else to click? And then they can dive in deeper on another page, because the other part of this is where you overload them with too much information and you don't allow them to kind of take paths to kind of see this sort of thing. So
So
really important, digestible chunks of information and visuals as they go, and then let them keep diving deeper.
give me some, it said, let's go to the career page. You click on the career page. Then does it go, why work for us? Or, here's one talking about our company. I mean, what are the actual practical trails and way you navigate that website? Because I would say most people listening to this podcast do not have anything. Maybe they have a
Right.
career page and it says, we're looking for a project manager, gives a job description, and that's it.
Yeah. So, the very typical thing is like, here's how awesome we are. Here's a list of benefits, and here are the positions we're hiring for, and nothing
Right.
else. So if someone's interested in that project manager thing, instead of listing out all the stuff on there, why not just create a page about that position? And then I'll get into this in a little bit, but you could create even more content that's very specific about that job role and put that on that page. So again, thinking about this trail, I'm taking this step and going down this fork in the path, and this is more relevant to me now. So you could have sections like, there could be a very concise write-up about your company culture, and it could just really quickly, digestible content, give a little bit of information, but there could be a button. And if people want to click and then they go to another page, maybe they look at other events that you've had and different things that you do that builds up your employee culture.
I mean,
And
showing the
instead of,
company party or something, like, here's a company party, Christmas party or what. I mean,
yeah,
how specific should you get when you get into exploring the corporate culture?
well, it depends. I mean, I always say start at the high level, like try to give those bite-sized nuggets. Make sure your careers page has those bite-sized nuggets. And then as you want to spend more money, time, attention, resources, then create those subsequent pages and add those buttons that they can click off to. So you might not in the beginning be able to like have all the assets that you need to create all these pages, but have like a multi-year approach to this that you're going to keep building out more and more content.
Okay.
Another thing that we often do is, at first we might list those 4, 5, 6 positions and then have maybe pages for them. But the other thing that we've done for a lot of companies, especially like the larger companies, that their part of their culture is kind of promoting from within and like having a career path and like not being stuck in that role forever, is we've gone back later in years and we've created a module that's kind of like a career path module. And it's kind of like you choose your own adventure, and it's interactive. And as you click through it, it'll go to this position and it'll say, well, here's some potential next steps. And when you click on it, then you can kind of, in that page, instead of clicking to a bunch of different pages, you can kind of, in that module, that section on the website, you can kind of read about different positions and see more and more deep information about that. So instead of listing it all out, like you'd have a really, really long page, you can think about how I can create a better experience to take people down that path to learn more about what they want.
Now, what about videos from employees explaining, why they work in that? Is that useful? Why they like working there or not?
Yeah, I think, just before we even get into the specifics of video, I think the content, whether it's written, pictures, video, needs to be really meaningful. And when I say meaningful, it needs to be meaningful to the person that's searching for a job. As brands, we often focus too much on our authority and how wonderful we are. And we forget, now this is true like in marketing with the prospective client, but it's also true with recruiting. Again, it's another type of person you're trying to sell on an opportunity here. And what's important to remember is that person is the center of the story. You are not. You are just a means to help them win in life. And so whether it's the words that you use on the page, whether it's what the images are communicating, whether it's a video, and I will get into some specifics of those, you have to remember that you're kind of just like this fixture, this guide to help the real hero in this customer story and this recruitment story get what they want and find that fulfillment and go from this bad place they are right now where they're just completely unfulfilled to this place where they really want to be. And so it's really important to remember that, and then also not to typecast these people. Like in our industry, you'll see a lot of Hispanic males that are from, ages 25 to 40 in the workforce, but that's not the only people you recruit. Um,
Right.
Maybe you want to represent them well because a lot of them will be coming to you, but you have to show different ages, different genders. You also have to remember that people coming to you could be coming from a very diverse group of industries. So when you create your content, don't always be thinking, oh, everybody's coming from construction or everybody's coming from a landscape company. You have to think about what appeals to the next generation. Maybe some of them are more driven by technology, and you have to make sure that in your written content, your visuals, all that stuff, that you communicate those different things. There might be,
Now,
like a concentration on one side, but you have to make sure that you cover your bases.
now you explain, because I'm a little confused. What would that actually look like? I mean, the classic one is, "Hi, I'm I'm Juan Hernandez. I've worked for ABC Landscaping. They're a great
Yeah.
company to work for. I've been here 5 years. They're really good. My boss is cool. I'm making a lot of money. You should come work for them."
Yeah.
That's the class. So how do you diversify that? I think it sounds fascinating. I'm trying to get an idea of the specifics, what that actually looks like, what that path, what it makes, how do you make the applicant the hero? What does that actually transform in the way of assets?
Well, I think pictures are a little bit
Mm,
harder. But
mm.
like when you take copywriting and text on the website, and then you also have a video, whether it's a story or as a voiceover or whatever. I think the most connective thing is to have a lot of empathy for what they're going through right now. And there are a lot of different phrases, concise phrases that you
I mean,
can
don't say, "Does
use.
your job suck?" I mean, how do you, yeah,
No, yeah, exactly. Instead of that, you could say, we understand what it's like to be stuck in a job where you think like you're going nowhere. You know, we get what it's like to have a boss that um, where you can never feel like you do anything right. All those types of motivations. We understand that it's important to you to provide a great life for your family. That's having empathy for their problem, and that we statement connects you with those people. So whether you're doing it in a video script or whatever, or text, it's important that you lead with empathy and don't say, we're the best thing since sliced bread. You
so
really want to come work for us?
this sounds like, because I know in advertising the same kind of thing, rather than saying we're the best contractor out there, you say, how do you choose a contractor, or what are the difficult, you're trying to get to the person who's making a decision on which contractor to use.
Yep.
And you're saying, has the last guy not showed up? Have they not been on time? Have they,
Right.
they escalated the cost from what you thought it was? They couldn't speak your language. I mean, so you're trying to get to the consumer to empathize with the problems they've had with landscapers, for example, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the same kind of thing, except using it to the employee side.
Exact same thing. And if it's hard for you as an employer to think about what those things are, just interview some of your team members. Ask them what life was like before they came to you. Ask them what their big frustrations were. Recall some of your notes from your interviews. And I would say, even on a side note here, if you're hearing people say that in their applications and their interviews, that's a great time to give an empathetic statement right there in the interview. People want to, sometimes it feels very vulnerable to offer up that information about where you're at. And then someone says nothing, it makes you feel very awkward. So if you mirror that back, like during your interviews, and you're telling people, wow, yeah, that sounds really hard. That sounds really frustrating. Just a simple statement sometimes just makes people realize that like they're not alone. So you had asked the question, like, how does that practically come out on your website? I mean, you can do quotes, like, a sentence or two quote. Maybe you have a picture of the person beside that quote. That's social proof. Like if you're doing a marketing side, it would be like a customer review. Well, this is a team member review. And when I was talking about the demographics and being diverse there, again, choose people on your team that show a good wide range of diversity. If you're a company that, it's an extremely important thing to you to get more women working at your company, you better have some testimonials from the women that work on your team. Now I understand chicken, egg, maybe you don't have them yet, but when you
Right.
get one and they're doing really well, make sure you foster that relationship so that that person can be featured a little bit better. We create all kinds of content. I mean, like that's like a micro piece of content with a review like that. But we've written team member profile stories. We talk about their personal life and all the things, we have a writer interview them, and we create this article about them. It talks about their personal interests and how they've grown at the company. Again, as you're going down through your careers page, maybe you don't have that at first, but then maybe later you have a section that says team member stories. And when they click there, maybe they can read different testimonials,
So the
like
story would
in-depth
be like,
stories.
I used to work 14 hours a day. Now I'm only working 8 hours a day. Um, I used to not be appreciated by my boss. Now I love
Yeah.
him because he appreciates me. My boss never even looked at my wife in the eyes, but now that she's part of the family, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But so you're actually relating to real, it's like therapy, for lack of a term. You're trying to hear what they're saying so I can relate to that person and say, hey, my boss never looks my wife in the eyes either, or my boss doesn't even pay attention to my kids or my dog or whatever. I mean, that kind of stuff. So the person feels like it's some form of feeling like they're loved and cared about in some form.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important to, like, you can have as many empathy statements as you want as an employer, but it only goes so far. When your team members start communicating that back and volunteering that information, it's way more credible. It's like when you're trying to buy something and you're reading a customer review. Like, there's
Mhm.
no bias in that. It's that person that has that experience. And so it's important to do that. Now, as we talk about like visuals and that sort of thing as well, like, if you want to communicate that it's a great place to work and people enjoy it, people shouldn't look like a bunch of grumps and miserable people in your images. But like, you should see them smile, like, a 25% smile while they're doing their work. You could see them laughing as they're doing their work. And as you get into videos, it's super powerful. Like, you see people, grabbing something, picking something up, and they're gritty and they look badass and all that. And that's great. But you should see them also laughing and enjoying working together, because let's be honest, like, we've all had places where the job was great, but the people we worked with were a nightmare. And so it's
Right.
important to communicate that in visuals, that, we're not just claiming, look at these people, they're having fun together. Like, they're getting the job done and they also really enjoy it. And you can go really deep with content, because as you tell those stories, like, you could create videos that are testimonial videos from different team members talking about what it's like to work there. We've done all kinds of these. Like, we just did one for one of the companies. They wanted to do a focus on women, and so we had three different women. There was a comptroller, um, uh, a business developer, and a field supervisor. And we interviewed all three of them and pieced these three stories together in just a beautiful way to show how this company is investing in the women in the industry and how there's a lot of opportunity. But you could do that with, you could take three different people. We had another video where we had one guy that was an experienced irrigation technician that talked about his horrible work-life balance before. We had another person that was a leasing agent at an apartment, and then she was talking about how she's been promoted through the company and leads the one team. And then we had another guy that delivered ice to bars and restaurants, and he was talking about how surprised he was that he had this great opportunity. Like, he never even knew this industry was something that would be so fulfilling for him. So
Mhm.
you can have all these different stories. Maybe make one video about one person's story, but you can piece these things together and then have them on your website in a variety of different places. It's super powerful, and people, job applicants, will love that kind of stuff.
So basically, you're trying to emotionally connect with the applicant. So the applicant
Yes.
feels like this company is going to meet my needs as a human being.
Yeah. Emotionally connect, tell deeper stories, go beyond the surface need of, I need a job. What are you hiring?
Right.
What are you paying? Like, because that's the entry point. But what keeps them there is the culture of the company, the
Everybody's looking.
appreciation, all those little
Yeah, because
things.
I've done my share of therapy, right? And basically, you're trying to get your needs met, right? I mean, you obviously,
Yeah.
right? So if you
Yeah.
can show how you can get the needs met of a potential applicant, however you communicate that, they're more likely to want to come to work for you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And then as you circulate, I talk about the website, but we're all, a lot of brands are doing social media and that sort of thing as well. Like, Instagram is a really great platform. There's other platforms as well, but or LinkedIn, depending, like, what type of job role you're going after, if it's more professional or more trades, and even TikTok, and sharing like snippets of these stories, or even just photos with a write up there, like your caption for it is just very empathetic. And that communicates and shows people behind a curtain, because, like you said, a lot of times you go to these websites and I can't find a single picture of anyone working on a website, like none. It's very common.
Right.
When you're talking about companies that are like $4 or $5 million a year in annual revenue, they just have never invested in that and they haven't made it a priority or they didn't know how to pull that off.
Right. And it doesn't sound, it's only not that expensive when you think about it. Because I mean, the most important thing you do is build your team, in my opinion, as far as a company goes, right? And investing in building your team, whether it's a recruiting company or investing in a company like yours that can help, make their website appeal, I think it definitely sets you apart. I mean, the good news is nobody does it, right? So if you do it, and I'm looking at through 4 or 5 companies to come to work for, and I look at your website and I go, oh, this company really meet my needs, and this company I haven't got a clue, I'm going to tend to apply to the company I think can meet my needs, right?
Right.
And that's just, it's not all about salary. It's about the culture, getting my needs met, feeling appreciated. It's not just about the money, which I think is important because a lot of employers think it's just about the money, and it's not. And when you make these appeals to meeting the needs of your potential candidates, I think compensation is just a piece of the picture, right?
Yeah, it's like the straw that breaks the camel's back or the one that gets you in the door. I mean, like you're not going to go work somewhere if you have to earn a certain wage.
Right,
And you could get a job there, but if they beat you up continuously or you feel like you're stuck and you really desire to grow in your position and get trained and there's nothing there for training to help you to elevate your career or to find a different path. If you communicate that on the website, people are like, wow, you know what? Not only can I join this company and it seems like the benefits and pay are great, but it looks like I could have a really hopeful future here because look at
right,
all these people that have been here and have made something out of their lives that, they had the
right.
opportunity and they took advantage of it. And I want to do that too. And that's kind of the last thing too. Like you have to be careful to always include calls to action. Don't assume people know what to do. Like it's as simple as apply today. Like where's that button following them around on the website? At
Right.
the end of a video, do you have just apply now or whatever that might
You have to
be on
close the
that
deal,
type of
right?
media? Yeah,
You
you
have
have
to,
to like it's your turn to take action. This is
right.
all on you right now
So
to
apply
apply to
now. If you
fill
want
this
to change
out.
your life, apply now. I can see that because I can see somebody, I mean, somebody who like, John or Frank or somebody went to work for the company. When they started, it was just a guy. Now he's got a family and he loves his job and his wife loves his job and they're part of this company, be part of the family. And it's like the best decision ever of my life was coming to work for ABC company. It changed everything. I mean, I can see
Yeah.
that would be really appealing to some people.
We've had some people, like we try to provide a framework when we do these videos, as far as questions we know we want to ask.
Mhm.
But we've had some people that have said some incredible things unprompted. Like, this place has changed my life. We've heard people say this place has saved my marriage. Like all
Right.
kinds of statements like that. And when someone that is looking for a job sees that, I mean, you talk about deeply connecting with them. You could put whatever you want. Imagine if you put on your website, this working here will save your marriage. Like that's kind of
Right.
silly, but like when you hear somebody else say it, you're like,
Or
maybe
I
if
never
that's
got
an
to spend time
issue,
with my kids until I got this job. Now I'm the
yes,
coach of the football team, whatever, right?
yes, yes, yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been really informative, Chad. Now, people want to get a hold of you. How do they do that?
So again, we only work with the lawn care and landscape industry. Our target client are typically companies that are over $2 million in annual revenue. So that middle to large size company. So I would say this, if you're interested in knowing what we do for our clients, the best thing to do is to go to landscapeleadership.com. We have all kinds of helpful articles. There's tons of examples of things that we've done for clients that I'm talking about, links to their website, all that. But if you just want really great information, maybe you're not, in our ideal client industry or size. I put a lot of content out. I love educating. So I am most active on LinkedIn. Just look for Chad
Okay.
Diller, or you can even search for me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel and I try to put a lot of examples out there. And I'm sure a lot of those things could really translate to other industries as well.
Well, again, all my clients could definitely use this information. I'm telling you, it's something that's really neglected as far as attracting the right employees. It's a huge difference.
Sure.
Well,
There's all
thanks,
kinds of
Chad.
resources. Yeah, there's all kinds of resources on there too, like how to be more comfortable on camera and those types of things. So even if we can't work with them and they're working with another agency, there's all sorts of information on there that people would find useful.
Great. Thanks, Chad. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm sure people learn a lot by going to your website.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate the time.